YOLO dope people of YouTube. So today I'm gonna take a trip down memory lane, man, and I'm gonna tell you guys about how we grew up in the 90s. And it's crazy. It's the amount of shit that would take place on a daily basis was enough to fucking write a book or make a movie on, right? And a lot of it is gonna be bleak, but it just is what it was. It wasn't that we were bad kids, we were just very mischievous, you know? So I grew up on the 900 block Ardmore, which is essentially like Santa Monica, Normandy. One day, I'm about 5.5, and someone does a drive-by to the older kids, like the teenagers. And they're only like 10 feet from me, man. Like 10, 15 feet. They do a drive-by. Good thing gangbangers don't know how to shoot for shit, because they missed everybody. Couple months went by, another drive-by. And I'm too young to duck. You know what I'm saying? You're not thinking of ducking. It happens so fast. It's like, and again, they missed everybody. You know? And then a couple months went by again, and I remember some dude I'm getting out my house, and I could see the apartment next to me, and he's running for his life, and this other kid, man, is shooting at him, and he chased him all the way to the back of the building, shot at him a bunch of times, and missed every single shot. You know, you're talking about like 14, 15-year-olds. So at that age, we knew everything, man. We knew what drugs were. We knew what coke was, what heroin was, what weed was, what crystal meth was. We heard of things like PCP and other stuff, but like that, we didn't really know about that, right? Like, we knew about AIDS, we knew about all that, just crazy. It was before DARE, right? Like, if you went to school in LAUSD, you know about the DARE program, man. DARE gave us a lot of information, but we already had a lot of information from the street. So one day, me and my friend, my best friend, right, like, we're always together. Like, when we came home, it was like, you come home from school, you throw your backpack, you go outside, you play, and there's always from 15 to easily 30 kids out there, you know? Half of them are like our age, and half of them are in their teens and late teens. So I used to take the magnet school bus to another elementary school that wasn't in my district. So, you know, I used to take the school bus, man, and I remember there was this kid on this bus, man, quiet as a fucking church mouse. And we were always loud and talking and yelling on the bus. This kid was unnoticeable. I didn't even know he was on my bus for like a year. Until one day, he gets dropped off at Normandy and Melrose, which is one main street down from Santa Monica, Normandy. So, you know, he would get dropped off, and then I would get dropped off on Santa Monica, Normandy. So we drop his ass off, and then, you know, I get dropped off, and then next day when I go to school, they tell us, oh, you know, this kid, he got dropped off waiting for his parents, and there was a gang shootout, and he caught a stray bullet, and he died. Like 7 years old, man. And I was like, holy fuck, man, I never even noticed this kid. Poor kid, you know? Just out of fucking nowhere. So we knew drugs, right? Like, so one day, me and my friend we're walking around, and we go by this tree where some of the kids hang out, and we noticed there's a bag in the tree, and we pulled the bag out, and it was a pound of weed. And this is in the 90s, where, like, if you got caught with a nickel bag or a diamond or a dub sack, it was viewed like you got caught with cocaine. It was serious, right? So I'm like 6. My friend is like a year and a half older than me, right? So he's like 7.5. We're like, should we take it and go and smoke it? And we kind of debated it, right? We debated, whether we should. And then, you know, him being a little older, a year and a half older, he's like, no, man, like, they're gonna know it's us and we're gonna be in big problems. Let's just put it back. And the reason why I was in the tree was because the dude didn't want to take it inside his house in case he got raided or something, right? We were just kids and mischievous, and everything we paid attention to, so we noticed. We just happened to notice it. So 900 block Ardmore, the 101 freeway cuts through that neighborhood. Like, at the end of the block is a giant wall, which is the 101 freeway. But there's like brush that goes up, and then there's palm trees, and then there's a tunnel. And it's a tunnel that goes under the freeway all the way to the other side, which is the other neighborhood. And then if we go through there, we could walk to like something called Lemon Grove Park, where we could play basketball and all kinds of shit. We used to call the tunnel the homeless tunnel, because there were no lights. All the light bulbs were always broken out, and it always smelled like piss and shit. And we just knew that it was homeless people that were just peeing and shitting in there like it was a fucking restroom. So we used to hold our breath and run across that entire tunnel to the other side to go play basketball and all that. And this is around the time where like everybody was outside. Yeah, there was like Super Nintendo, but like Sega, but like, yeah, that gets boring, you know, when you got like 15 kids outside yelling and screaming and playing. Super Mario doesn't sound that fun. And there was still a sense of community, man, where like the older teens, they made sure we could play on the street without a car hitting us, without some older kids or other kids from other neighborhoods coming and punking us or bullying us. There's a whole bunch of like gangbanging going on, but like we kind of looked out for the older kids so that no one kind of came and fucked with them, and they looked out for us. It was just a community thing, right? One day coming through the tunnel, I remember I saw a needle, like a heroin needle, you know, and I knew what it was. Like someone was shooting heroin and threw the needle, like the whole syringe, you know. So I grabbed the leaf and I grabbed the needle and I shoved it in like the bottom of my shoe, like in the sole. And I remember I curled my toes back to make sure, you know, carefully I put it. I don't know why the fuck I would put that in my shoe, but I put it in my shoe and I start walking, and my friend immediately tells me, like, what the fuck are you walking with the needle in your shoe for, man? And he made me take it out and throw it, which was a good thing, right? Now, we would get lazy, man, as kids, right? Because when you're small, everything seems big. So it was kind of a hassle to walk from the back of your apartment complex to the street, and then go down a few houses or a few apartments, because there's houses and apartments on that street, and then go inside and find the kids that are playing in the back of that building. We'd get lazy, so we just like jump fences or roofs, right? Like half the block, the roofs were either touching or close enough where we could climb the roof of like the parking structure and then jump to the next parking structure's roof, and then the next one, then just arrive at our location. It was like a shortcut. Or we could just jump the fence and then go and jump the wall, and then we were there, rather than, you know, walking, going through the door, going down the steps, going, like, it was just convenient. But in that other building, that was a 2-story, technically a 3-story, because the first floor was just parking, indoor parking lot, and then it was a 2-story apartment building. And then there's lots of kids always in the back playing, or they would come out and play with us sometimes, right? And like I said, there's always at least 15, 20 kids out there, man, different age groups at all times, all the way until sundown, and then we would still be out there until our parents would like come out and yell and pull us in, right? But in the back was this house, man, that was abandoned. It was like this just shithole of a house, completely abandoned, tagging everywhere. There's mattresses. It was like a kickback spot slash abandoned house. So we pulled the mattresses and put them outside, and we used to get on that roof and we used to jump off and land on the mattresses, you know? And the roof of the house had like that triangle shape. I remember I was always afraid to jump off the tip of that triangle. It was like way too high. And it was just like one or two mattresses. And I always felt like, dude, it already hurts when I land on, because it was a high like house. And it was like, even jumping from the lower part, it would hurt more landing on those mattresses than for us to jump off of a regular parking lot, like a regular parking lot roof, and just land on the floor. And kids are a little different. They bounce, right? Like we would bounce. Our bones were light. It was like we could hit the floor and would be all right. You might, get that little shock in your system, but it didn't hurt. It's not like an adult trying to, jump off a roof. They're gonna break a fucking leg, right? So I remember this one day specifically, and we see this kid from my best friend's apartment building, which was next to mine. The same building where that other kid, they were chasing him and shooting at him, right? So one of these kids, we see him leave, and he leaves, and then he comes back 2 hours later, man, and he's in shorts, not shorts, only his boxers and only his socks. And we're like, what the fuck happened to you, right? And he's like 13, 14, and we're like 7, 8. It's like, what the fuck, where's your clothes, bro? He's like, man, they jumped me, bro. They took my shoes, they took my clothes, like, goddamn, bro. And you gotta imagine, this is the 90's, man. This is a time where people were getting killed for shoes. If you had a certain type of Jordans, or I forgot the other basketball player that had shoes during that time. Was it like the Pippins or there was another shoe, and he was wearing that other shoe. I can't remember. It had like an air bubble in the back, so it had to be made by Nike, but it wasn't Air Forces. But anyways, so he got jacked for his shoes. He doesn't want to go home. He doesn't want to go home because, he's going to catch shit from home. Not only did he get his shit jacked, but, and then his family's going to, hassle him. So we were going to go to that roof to jump off and stuff like that. So he tagged along. And when we got there, the place was burned down. And we're like, what the fuck happened? He goes, yeah, this place burned down yesterday. Like, how did it happen? And he didn't really want to say, but he kind of hinted at the fact that it was him and a couple of the other dudes, and I guess they were kicking it inside the house. They started a fire. The fire got out of control. They ran away. The house burns down. And it was kind of a good thing the house burned down, because eventually we were gonna break a leg, a neck, something, because if kids, you push the bar, bro. If you jumped from somewhere, the next time you jumped, you'd go a couple of inches higher and jump, and then a couple inches higher, and before you know it, you're at the fucking pinnacle of the roof, jumping onto this fucking crackhead mattress. and hopefully you hit the mattress and not the floor, right? So another day, I come home from school, and my friends would get home before I would, because I would take the school bus, right? I come home, and by the freeway at the end of the block, where there's brush and then there's palm trees, it was all burned down, man. It was all burned down. And I asked my friend, what the fuck happened? He goes, bro, it was fucking crazy. He goes, man, we lit the tire on fire. So it was him and this other kid that was maybe 11, 12 years old. we would always light shit on fire. Like, we were like little pyromaniacs or some shit, man. So they lit up the tire, and then they thought it was a good idea to throw it in the brush. And the brush caught on fire, the palm trees caught on fire. So the fire department was there, and they, like, it was just crazy. My friend was telling me, bro, the top of the palm tree was on fire. It was beautiful. You know? And I was all disappointed because I missed out. Obviously no one ever got caught doing anything, because fuck, it's the 90s. No one gave a fuck about anything, right? So one day, we would always try and smoke weed with the older kids, and like I said, there was a sense of community, man. It wasn't like everyone was trying to take advantage of everyone. It was more like everyone looked out for each other. So we'd always go to them when they were smoking, and they'll be like, get the fuck out of here, you know? We'd be like, hey man, we want to smoke too. And they were like, man, get your little asses out of here before we beat your ass, you know? So they would be like kind of adult figures at the same time, you know? They didn't want us to, they knew we were fucking around, but you know, they weren't going to introduce us to drugs type of thing, right? So one day we're walking through my friend's parking lot. So his building had a parking lot to the left side and the right side. We just happened to be walking on the right side, and we saw on the floor there was like a dime sack. And we're like, oh shit, a dime sack. And we went, and we were going to go and smoke. That's what we were thinking. We'll grab it and we'll smoke it. But when we got to it, the bag was empty except for seeds and sticks. So at this time, I am 6.5, and my friend is like 7.5, 8, right? And we decide, all right, these older kids aren't letting us smoke weed, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna grow these seeds. So I went home and I grabbed some little pots that my mom had, like these 2-inch pots. So we planted some seeds in these 2-inch pots, and the rest we planted in front of the building. We would water this every fucking day and just watch it, and it's starting sprouting, right? But we didn't know how weed grows, man. We didn't know, you know, the difference between like the flower and the leaves. We thought, you know, you grow it and you smoke the leaf. Like what else are you gonna smoke, right? We didn't know. But anyway, so it starts sprouting and growing and stuff. And I remember this day like yesterday, man. It was a weekend, because I slept in, and you know, otherwise I'd be woken up and I'd go to school and stuff. But my aunt and my uncle were at my house, and my mom wakes me up and says, you need to come to the kitchen. And she said it in that tone where, like, fuck, I'm in some shit. Like, what did I do now, right? And my aunt and uncle are staring at me, and I see the 2 plants on the table. My mom goes, what are these? And I was a smart ass kid, so I said, like, well, they're plants. She goes, I know they're plants, but who grew them? And I was like, I grew them. And you know, I'm over there looking at my feet because I'm embarrassed, you know, and like, I know I'm gonna get my ass beat. So my mom's questioning me, and she's like, so wait, you grew it, you knew what you grew, right? And I didn't say anything, and obviously she knew what that meant. And she's like, you knew this was marijuana that you're growing. Why were you growing it? So in my little ass head, I was thinking, holy fuck, if I tell her I was growing this to smoke it, I'm gonna get the beating of a lifetime. So with my quick little thinking, I said, well, I'm growing it so that I could sell it and make some money. And my aunt's and my uncle's face just dropped. Like, their mouths were literally open. Like, did this little tiny little motherfucker just say he was growing weed? And he did grow weed, and he wanted to sell it to make money. And my mom was trying to keep the straightest face ever until she started bursting out laughing. And I start laughing out of like, holy shit, I'm not gonna get my ass beat. My mom's laughing, you know? So she made, but obviously that wasn't gonna be the end of it, you know? She shamed the shit out of me, man. She's like, you know, I'm a teacher. You know what would happen if we get caught with this? I would lose my job, and it'd be all your fault, and we couldn't live here, and all because you wanted to plant these, you know. So she shamed the shit out of me. So, you know, during that time, you know, people had shame. You could actually shame people. Nowadays, shame is like an endangered species, man. Like, people just don't have any shame. It's weird. But so yeah, so those are some stories. And then so many things would happen, man. Like, just things that take place in hoods and in ghettos, you know. Like, it was just so much shit, and it was really weird, man. I rarely ever saw a white person. I mean, I'm Armenian, I'm white, but like, we would rarely ever see someone with like blonde hair, blue eyes. So when I used to watch movies, man, it was really weird to me. I was like, they have all these movies in LA, and there's all these blonde hair, blue eyed people, but like, I never see any blonde haired people around here, ever, for years. There's only one dude, and I even remember his name till this day. His name was Jason. He was this white dude with blue eyes, and he had dreads all the way to the floor, man. I'm talking about, this dude had long dreads, grew them all the way to the floor, man. I remember this dude's name until today, and he only lived in the building for like a year, in my friend's building. My friend's building also had a pool. So the way it was designed was, it was a pool, and then the second story where like it was apartments, right? So you can take the stairs, and then it would cross like above the pool and go into those apartments to the side. It was like this walkway that literally cut the pool in half from above. So the pool was 8 feet deep on one end, and then the other end was 5 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet. And we used to just jump and dive into the 8 feet from that balcony, you know, that would like that little walkway area that crossed the pool. We just go up there and dive down and jump down. And I remember the manager would always come out yelling at us and scream, "You can't fucking do that, and you guys gotta leave." And you know, they're always yelling at us, but we were fucking bad kids. So when they would tell us to get out the pool, we torment them, man. We'd like just, you know, cannonball in the water and splash a whole bunch of water on them, knowing they're not jumping in the pool. So fucking, you know, go to the other side, get out. When they run to the other side, we just jump, splash them again, and go to the other, you know, just torment them for yelling and kicking us out, you know, when we were just kids having fun. I remember one of these older dudes, he was like a grandpa. He would always yell at us every time, because we were kids. We were always loud, yelling, playing Marco Polo, all this shit, right? So I ran into this man later on in my early 20s, you know, like, and we didn't like him, man. Like, I still had that bitter taste in my mouth. I didn't like this dude, but he saw me and he recognized me, and he came and he shook my hand and he hugged me, and he's like, "Man, I remember I used to yell at you guys so much, man, for being in the pool and being loud." He goes, "When you guys left, within 5 years, everybody that was young left. And today, if you go to that neighborhood, it's a fucking ghost town. Nobody is on the street." And he goes, "Man, you have no idea how much I miss the sound of children yelling and playing and screaming. And it's one of the things I regret most in my life. And this man totally apologized, and he's like, man, I just wish that I had grandkids that were young like that, so I could invite them just to have that back, you know, because his grandchildren were our age. So, you know, when we were 5, 6, his grandchildren were like 5, 6. So, you know, everyone grew up around the same time. And yeah, I think I'm gonna end it at that. I'll give you guys like a part 2 of crazy stuff we did, and I'll tell you guys about the craziness of Halloween and all the crazy shit we did for Halloween. And maybe I'll tell you guys about when I moved to like South LA and all that, and all the crazy stuff we did over there. It never stopped. It was never ending. So solo, YOLO, bolo, peace, man. You guys be safe out there.